Alright, so Ken Carson just dropped an album recently, and in this video, I'm going to be showing you how to sound exactly like Ken Carson from Ken Carson himself, from his studio session file. So let's go ahead and hop in our DAW, and I'll show you what I'm talking about. Alright, so now that we're in FL Studio, I'm going to show you Ken Carson's actual vocal takes and his actual plugins and settings that he used to record his popular song, Fighting My Demons. So originally, this session was recorded and mixed in Pro Tools, but I just ported it into FL Studio and I copied the exact same settings basically. Right, so I'll play the session just to show you that this is his actual vocal, and then we'll begin the mixing segment to show you how he mixed the vocals. So this is a song raw with no effects.
Where the fuck my blunt? Where the fuck my cup? Where the fuck my wreath? That's why you're not kids. That's why you're not kids. You know I'm a chief. You know I'm a chief.
Right, so now after we've nailed the plugins, this is what it sounds like.
Where the fuck my blunt? Where the fuck my cup? Where the fuck my wreath? That's why you're not kids. That's why you're not kids. You know I'm a chief.
Right, so the session file wasn't actually too crazy. Basically, the master is doing a lot of the work. But to start off, I noticed on the beat, he put a EQ just to kind of like boost some frequencies and take out some frequencies, I guess. And then moving on to the main vocal, they started with Auto-Tune Pro. They had a retune speed at 3, humanize at 7, and then they kept the input at alto. Key was C sharp minor, right? And the second plugin they had was a C6, and they had this weird, strange EQ. I guess is what sounded good for Ken Carson's vocals, but I'll play it on and off. So this is what it sounds like with the C6 off.
Where the fuck my blunt? Where the fuck my cup? Where the fuck my wreath?
And then once we put it back on, this is what it sounds like.
Where the fuck my blunt? Where the fuck my cup? Where the fuck my wreath?
To me, it just tightens up the vocal a little bit and just makes it like brittle, I guess. But moving on, they have a de-esser just to tame those harsh E's and S's. But I noticed they dragged it all the way down to 45, but I guess that's what sounded good on Ken's vocal. And they have this API 560. This is a EQ plugin, I believe. Just doing some EQ. Then they have our compressor is the first compressor on the vocal chain. Basically just doing some quick to medium attack and quick to medium release ratio on 2.8. Then they have a L1 limiter just to kind of bring back the vocal because you could listen to it without it.
Where the fuck my blunt? Where the fuck my cup? Where the fuck my wreath?
You can't really hear the vocal. Once they added a limiter, it brings the vocal back up, and now this is what it sounds like.
Where the fuck my blunt? Where the fuck my cup? Where the fuck my wreath?
Right, so I think it just gives it a bit more volume and kind of controls the peak a little bit. And I noticed they upped the release to 10 because normally the L1 is sitting at like 1. And then next, for some reason, they put the EQ later in the vocal chain. I'm not sure why, but the first EQ was, I think, to clean up the vocal a little bit and then boost the highs a little bit. And then they had another EQ where they're just doing some really fine details, fine cleaning up, I guess. And then, of course, they're busting it out to a reverb and delay send. And then for the delay, they use H delay. They also had meta flanger in it, and they had some reverb on it, which is pretty interesting. But after all that is what the main vocal sounds like.
Where the fuck my blunt? Where the fuck my cup? Where the fuck my wreath? That's why you're not kids.
Right, and then if we take all that off, this is what it sounds like.
Where the fuck my blunt? Where the fuck my cup? Where the fuck my wreath? That's why you're not kids. That's why you're not kids. You know I'm a chief. You know I'm a chief.
Right, so basically I'll have this whole vocal chain in the description if you guys want to get Ken's actual vocal chain. But I would advise you that this vocal chain was designed specifically for Ken's vocals. So if you're going to use it, you're going to have to probably adjust things to your settings and probably play around with it until you get a good result. So for instance, say that I wanted to record a Ken type of song and I wanted to use this beat, which is one of his songs on this recent tape.
Money spread, money spread. Money spread.
Say I wanted to use this vocal chain, but first things first, I need to find the key of the beat. The key of the beat is going to be B flat minor. And then next I'm going to want to arm the track so I can hear myself. Right, so now that I've armed it, I'm probably going to want some reverb. And then I'm probably going to want to play around with the EQ because I have a different microphone, I have a different voice, different room aesthetics. So I'm probably gonna want to play around with this EQ a little bit, maybe take out more lows. And then I also added this NS1, just because I'm not recording in a studio like Ken Carson probably is. So I'm gonna need the NS1 to take out the background noise. And then next, maybe I don't want as much de-esser, so I'll adjust that. And then R compressor, some more compression. And then let's see what it sounds like. Money spread.
Money spread, money spread.
Money spread, money spread, money spread. Money spread, money spread, money spread. Money spread, money spread, money spread. Money spread, money spread, money spread. I got 50,000. I got 50,000. Money spread, money spread, money spread, money spread.
Peace and blue like bubblegum.
I'm also pretty sure Ken probably records in a studio with like analog gear with effects already printed before it even hits the DAW. So if you guys actually want to emulate Ken Carson a bit more with your home studio, you're probably gonna need different effects and different plugins than Ken's actual vocal chain, because he's probably using top of the line gear and top of the line studios, so it's gonna sound vastly different. That'll probably be it for this video. And if you guys want this vocal chain, I'll have it in the description. Code LET for like 10% off. And that'll be it for this video.